day, lords and ladies of the internet. I'm your captain, the Parafox Archangel, the English Sky Captain of the internet, and I welcome you back to the Sunless Skies, where today we have multiple things we need to do. We need to figure out one of our ambitions. We're not the hero of the tactics. We might be the savior of the sun. We could be a knight of the clocks. I have no idea how to do these well stuff. All the wreck, all the boatman, all the parliament, all the revolutionary, all the jewel of Albion. And I've got one out of three gods really mad at me. So, what are we actually doing today then? Well, to start off with, we're going to go to the house without windows. To find the address given in Captain Whitlock's will, you make your way through little-used streets in one of London's lower, smoggier levels. To find the address one of London's smoggier levels, on a secluded courtyard flanked by the windows of warehouses and factories, stands a tall grey house with one door and no windows. When you knock, a blind butler asks, "Yes?" Deliver the black box. Fulfill Captain Whitlock's last request. The butler is pleased. "Ah, our resident has arrived. Please bring him in. Everything has been prepared according to Captain Whitlock's instructions." As you maneuver the black box inside, you ask what those instructions were. "She arranged for Master Jacob's convalescence with us. I understand the young gentleman has suffered from a prolonged illness, which has left him unable to speak and afflicted him with a delicate disposition. The affairs of the house have been organized in such a way as to never inconvenience him. He will require no visitors. An extensive library has been provided for his edification. Privacy is paramount." With the box in place, the butler procures a key from his pocket, but waits for you to leave before using it. "Thank you for your assistance. My lord, if Amelia were still with us, she would thank you. Good day." You leave the house without windows behind, the matter of Captain Whitlock's legacy finally discharged. You delivered the box to an address in London as Captain Whitlock requested. You obtained 2,000 experience, one sky story. You no longer possess a large black box. You now have another savage secret. Nice! I can level up twice now, I think. I kinda wanna upgrade mirrors. I remember that. I don't remember why, though. Because after all, I mean, most of the equipment here, seemingly requires veils. Ah! This requires mirrors. I suppose that's a good excuse, then. If I can get mirrors and veils, I would be happy. An interlude in red and gold. You lost your mind once. They put you in a splendid hotel, managed by a cheery gentleman who would determine when you could leave. How colourful the other guests were, how red the curtains, how gold the fittings, how secure the locks. Eventually you were able to leave, but was your recovery genuine? Yes, you're feeling much better, thank you. Through trial and error and determination, you learn to tell what is from what is not. The manager said he is sad to see you go. No, you just learnt to lie. You said what you had to, and they sent you home. Even now, your world is red and gold and splendid. I feel it's going to be bad picking this, but I'm picking it all the same. There's really not many options. I kind of want to wait for another one. Either way, I'm doing this before I leave. Hello, fitted cupboards. A complete renovation to your bridge. Install an aesthetically pleasing array of built-in storage space into the very walls. Yes, please. More inventory space. Used by the crappy bridge slot. Magnificent. I could also just buy the Juggernaut class. I mean, it's technically better than my current ship, if a little less fuel, good on fuel, but it's a bigger ship, you expect it to use more fuel. The only difference is it uses a heavy weapon, and the only heavy weapon we can buy is this big thing here, which we need veils to use. So, this thing requires iron, which I have exactly at level 50. What officers do I have? You provide mirrors and hearts. You provide a tiny bit of veils. A tiny bit. Not really good enough. You produce, your main stat is veils, so like hell am I removing you. And exact same for the rats. I basically have the perfect stuff at the moment. Kinda sad, really. Anyway, let's see what the Silken Saloon is. The generous princess manages many affairs of the court. She cultivates alliances, forms opinions, sets trends, makes introductions, suggests promotions, and dismantles reputations. She attracts rumors like a lantern attracts moths. It is said that she fears the light of the suns, and that her gifts inevitably destroy the recipients. She can sometimes be found in her salon, where she welcomes visiting captains. Huh. I can trade Stalin Stew's secrets, which I get very easily, for stuff. Contact the generous princess with your cryptic benefactor. Okay. I'm not sure if that actually allows us to talk to her, or whether this is just a way of selling stuff like this. Investigate rumors of an underground railway. You've heard of a less than legal organization operating out of the steel and sapphire yards. Ooh. Ooh, if I had 2 villainy... Wait, hold on. I believe one of these might be an additional source of villainy. Villainy? There he is. If I do that, I can't use the fitted cupboards. But can I contact the villainy? Ooh, I can contact the villainy. Interesting. So that's why you have all of the various things, just so that you can establish them as you need. Alright. They pay for information and may offer work to the bold, the clever, and those willing to displease Her Majesty. You have gathered secrets on your travels. 2 of them offer clues to the yard gang's identity. For now, let's just equip the fatalistic signalman and reach out through criminal contacts, because that's not what am I calling it. Your connections are reluctant to talk. I hear the Denables have been sniffing about. Less known, the better. London's Denable constables, the plain-clothed instruments of Her Majesty's displeasure, are a persistent superstition of the underclasses. Inevitably, a dubious rag-and-bone man directs you to one of the engine houses. Talk to the bookkeeper. He'll see you right. You have heard about the new line. He occupies a tiny, smoky office cobbled together from congregated iron sheets in the back of one of the engine sheds. It is stacked with nicotine-stained account books and boxes of oily brackets. The bookkeeper looks up as you enter and gestures to you with a chair. So I can get various stuff for this. Interesting, interesting. Like the unlicensed chart. Interesting. Learn how you can be of use to the new street line. He offers you a cup of tea, savagely stewed and swimming with sugar. He is deaf, but content to communicate through sign language or messages scribbled on a pad of paper. Obliquely, he explains that he does additional work for an organization unaffiliated with the government, which has an urgent need for up-to-date reports on other parts of Albion. His patrons will pay for intelligence to be brought to them, rather than the ministries. What's more, he implies earning the organization's trust might be an opportunity for additional work. Deliver Albion port reports to the steward bookkeeper to receive additional rewards. I see, I see. Then what about Makari's tobacco shop? The sign over the door once read Makari's and Son Fine Tobacco, but since someone has crossed out the words fine in a fit of honesty. Then, on a separate, more ominous occasion, they've crossed out and Son. The building is embarked on a rapid descent into squalor. The paint peels, the windows are caked with grime. Inspect the wares. The selection is unimpressive, as is the quality. Neither Albion nor the Reach has found a genuinely good replacement for tobacco, though increasingly fanatic smokers have tried lighting up virtually every sample of sky flora that has been discovered. A few skyfarers mill about, examining lower-grade flavours and speculating on exactly what Macquarie is cutting with them with today. The more expensive brands are untouched in their glass cases. You'd wonder how this place managed to stay open if it weren't for the fact it is so obviously on the brink of closure. And probably collapse. Alright then, well, might as well fix the 2 hit points I'm missing. Right. Liberated from her prison below the earth and elevated to the heavens, pickled with chimneys, mangled in sooty smoke. Here are old, proud buildings, transported block by pale block to the sky. Here are new edifices of soaring steel and stone and gleaming glass. The ultimate achievement in Victorian ambition, unhampered by terrestrial concerns. London is a feverishly brew of aspiration, empire, and appetite. Well, let's go with the navigator to the ambassador's house. The navigator waits for you. I have been away for some time. Your vouching for me would make a good impression. I want to make her proud. The house is small, but is an expensive location. It is well kept. The windows are clean. The steps freshly swept. Athelsign is flourishing in the urn by the steps. It feels like home. The navigator gazes at the front door. It feels strange to know I'm just visiting. Ring the doorbell. The navigator stands beside you. He fidgets with a loose thread on his sleeve. The grieving matriarch opens the door. She sees the navigator and yelps. She laughs. It disintegrates into tears. The navigator enfolds the woman in a hug. The matriarch glares up at the navigator fondly. I've been so worried. The moment I knew you'd signed up. It's so dangerous out there. What if something happened to you? She hustles the pair of you into the drawing room. My husband's at work. He'll be disappointed to have missed you. The navigator has been welcomed home by his friend's mother. The grieving matriarch is determined you'll join her for tea. She even refuses to let the servants assist. She is rushing towards the kitchen when the navigator intervenes. We can't stay long. I mustn't impose on the captain. I promise I'll come back soon. He draws the matriarch close and lowers his voice. I came to ask, may I borrow the key? I haven't been able to pay my respects. The grieving matriarch looks mortified. For the old lady to react so strongly, this must be interesting. It would be unkind to intrude their privacy at such a kind. You could peruse the photos in the hallway. You know what? I am a gentleman, and I know when I'm not needed. This sounds like something that they need their privacy for. Homely for an ambassador. The walls are covered in family photos. Frames jostle for space. In the oldest pictures, the navigator appears as a young, freckled girl, skirted and scowling. In later ones, he is a tall, short-haired youth, his arm casually flung around his friend's shoulders. The matriarch bustles past. A couple of minutes later, she returns, carrying a large book. This time, she attempts a smile. Finally, the navigator comes into the hall. I have what I need. He has the book under one arm and is holding a large iron key. What does it open? The family too, in Eagle's Imperium. They took Alton back there. Speaks to the fortunate navigator aboard your engine. Fair enough. Persuade the navigator to talk. Oh, I'm glad I got that extra. I didn't spend those savage secrets. Even off duty, the navigator is constantly checking the new. He is avoiding being alone. Let him know that you've seen this before. He has to share He has to share his burden, even. The navigator joins you in his cabin. Finally, the words tumble out. I thought I was all right. I just got on with my work and was doing well. He reaches beneath his bunk to pull out the book the matriarch gave him. Alton read this all the time. He'd act out, do the voices. It is the epic of King Geyser. Alton knew the true me. He shared his clothes, helped me bind my chest for the first time, got me into my first got me into my first fist fight. The navigator sits up proudly. He was my best friend. When we were children, I made a promise to him. The navigator stares blindly at the book. The navigator made a promise while they were young. What did he promise? Does it prey on him? Him? It's clearly a her at this point. When we were grown up, we would go exploring together. We'd go on great quests, do mighty things. The navigators take several breaths before continuing. We'd be heroes. People would write stories about us. I'm exploring the skies, and the navigator turns his face away. He didn't even get to leave home. He wipes his tears on his sleeve and stands resolute. I'm not going to break my promise. I will give him adventures only worthy of King Gustar. Captain, please, I want to go to Eagle's Imperium. I'm breaking him out of his tomb, but I'll need your help. You'll need a visa to come with me. The London Embassy there will give you one. He frowns. If you've not been to Ethusia, the relay is near Hybris, in the Reach. Really? We have to go there, do we? We're not setting foot there! We just got to Albion! You can screw off! I'm just buying fuel and setting out! I want to know where to go. Let's see. Working solely from my prospects, it says that I have to go to southeast London or southwest London. But I need to go back to the Brazen Work World to buy crockery to be able to sell to one of those things. So, let's go. Now the great question is, do I actually buy the new ship? Because technically I don't lose anything other than a single gun. And I don't even use the machine gun that much. And plus it is 40 extra HP. It would basically almost double my current HP. It's tempting. Very tempting. But for now, I'm going to say no. I'm going to have a look at what the creatures in Albion are like before I decide whether or not I want to do that. And apparently there is the other place where we sign in something or other. The Ministry of Public Decency. Alright. A crewman lets out a hacking cough. The smog has found its way in. The Ministries. I'm guessing this is where I hand in port reports, assuming I don't die in the way of coming in. Maybe that's why I need a better ship. A number of instruments of the government are located here. The Horological Office, which regulates time across the Empire. The Office of Works, which ensures the jobs no one else can be bothered with are done. And the Ministry of Public Decency, which curates the notion of Britishness with the same care a lepidopatist uses to pin a butterfly to a board. Alright. Apparently I can actually buy stuff here, so it looks like, yeah, this looks like it just counts as like London for terms of shops. Which is kind of cool, because it means I never have to set foot in London. Alright, well, let's talk to the Royal Horological Office then. Considering this, I need to become a knight of them. Somehow. Tick, tick, tick. Albion's heartbeat. Clocks of diverse size and shape line the walls of this small grey office. Each is cautiously tuned by the royal horologists and inspectors as practice for the thankless complex task of ensuring the consistency of time across Her Renewed Majesty's territories. Alright. Well, inquire about employment. Not anyone can become a royal horologist. The chief horologist looks surprised at your inquiry. Horologists tend to be cut from a Pacific cloth, rather than greyer fabric than that worn by a skyfarer. However, you have the right to take the examination if you wish. He blows the dust off a textbook and bids you sit down. No calculation devices or writing implements are permitted. The chief horologist peers over the book. If the current time in Perdonance is exactly 7:15 of the clock, and the time in Albion is 1834. What, pray tell, is the current time in Lustrum? Hurry up! I have no bloody clue! Absolutely none! How the Christ am I meant to know this? I'm gonna try that one. That is your answer? Very well, we shall continue. Now, a tricky one perhaps. The chief horologist coughs. The train from the Brazian work world arrives at 11:30 in London. The current time shown on the master Brazian clock is, he winces, 14:30. If the train took exactly 1 hour to take the journey, if the train took exactly 1 hour to make the journey, it does not, of course. I merely offer this as hypothetical for the sake of testing. What was the accurate time of its original departure from the work world? Ooh, this one I might be able to get. Okay. The current time shown on the work clock is 14:30. The train took exactly 1 hour to make its journey. It does not, of course. What was the accurate time of the original departure from the work world? I am going to say 10:30. He pauses for a moment before writing down your answer. Interesting, very interesting. You wait patiently several minutes, but the third question doesn't seem to be coming. The chief horologist's eyes have drifted closed. A thin string of drool dribbles from his otherwise dry lips as he snores. Nudge the chief horologist. Gently, the fellow must be pushing 100. Humph? Oh yes, excuse me. He glances at your answers. Oh dear, well, I see little point continuing with the other 248 questions. I'm afraid you simply don't have what it takes. Do not be chastised. He paused. Perhaps a little chastised. There is only one clock of Albion. All else is inaccuracy. You can retake the exam in 1 month. Look at the clock. Yeah. Okay. Sure. God damn it! Ministry of Public Decency. Huh. Okay. So I'm guessing this is where request an appointment. A huge horseshoe-shaped building of white stone, white columns, clocks and iron gates inside its walls are panelled with dark wood. Crimson carpets worn by frequent passage flood the door. Within its cubby-hole offices, auditors toil to protect the sensibilities of London here in the heathen sky. Request an appointment. Is there any way I can be of use? You cross the foyer and approach the secretary, ensconced at the teak desk. She listens to your request with a thoughtful frown. I'd love to arrange an appointment for you with one of our auditors. Obviously, but my hands are tied. Bureaucracy, you understand. She rolls her eyes, looks around conspiracially, then lowers her voice. Best thing for someone like yourself to do is to gather reports on nearby ports. I'm sure the information office would love to hear them. Then I can pop your name in a little book, and up you go. Right. Got it. So this is the other place. What's this? The Office of Works is bustling bureaucratic enigma. Behind its red bricked flanks toils of numberless clerks and surveyors. What mysteries lurk within its memorial, its chits and receipts? What exactly are the works? Its works. No one is sure, but its drafty loading bay and unflappable foreman purchases supplies to complete outstanding work orders. Offer your services. He sniffs and leaves through a dog ledger. The Office of Works, God bless you, has very particular requirements. Very particular. Let's have a look. The office needs 2 caddies of dry tea and a vision of helmet. The vision of the whatever. So if I get two caddies of dry tea, I can sell them here or something or other? Either way, I think it's time for us to move on. It's Big Ben! Are you telling me they moved Big Ben into the stars? Because if that's the case, that sounds bloody awesome. You know, there was an Albion Marauder. I wouldn't mind seeing if I can try and fight one of those, just to see what it is. I'm pretty sure I see small... I have no idea what that wind is, other than the fact it's blowing me into the rock. Excellent. Here we are back at the work world. Nice. Well, let us go to the shops. Don't need that. I need 3 of those, right? It's 3, right? Yes, 3. Excellent. We can buy some fuel at the same time. And then, I can buy the munitions for the sake of having the munitions. Right. Then, we have to move down here in hopes of finding somewhere. Because that's where it says it is. South, southwest. That means directly south and a little bit to the west. So we should aim for the more of the south end than we should for the west end. I get the feeling I should have bought more supplies or something, but... let's just keep... I've got 5, so that should be enough. And the bat says there's something down there, so that's a good first direction to go. I mean, that's relatively... it's probably like down there, isn't it? I still love the look of Albion. I mean, doesn't it just look awesome? Pure, utter industry. The very essence and definition of steampunk. And of course it's one of the things that requires analyzing. I really feel I should have taken off the drill and replaced it with the analyzing device. Because it's so doubtful that an industrial place like Albion will likely have any use for the drill. Will it? Well, and there we immediately find a dock, so that's nice. This looks like a bloody mausoleum. Actually, isn't that one of the places we're going to? Graves. Graves as far as you can see. Was this the one that was... which one of these was southeast? This one, the one that requires call. It is actually a mausoleum. The most sincere mausoleum. Well, I suppose... even London needs somewhere to put its... the gentleman's grave! That's where I plan to be buried. Well, there's the dock. The Rat Brigade stands to a patriotic attention. The mausoleum comes into view. The nave, the soaring spectral heart of the most serene mausoleum, constructed over the cooling embers of Albion's murdered sun. The mausoleum was built to house London's most glorious dead. How do you murder a son? I just got an invitation to Perdance. Okay, that's nice. What the Christ is this? Roll of thirsty bombazine. I've never heard of that. And here we get pane glass. Okay, but at least we can get fuel and supplies is the main thing. Kenningston Station. Kenningston Station is tucked into a side chapel. An elderly footman is lighting candles, while waiting to guide visitors into the mausoleum proper. Be escorted inside. The footman watches you alight from your engine. He coughs meaningfully. For lighting a fresh taper, which he carries in a silver folder, the footman leads you through a narrow arch and down a spiral stair. I can't word today. You can hear the weeping close by, but echoes make it hard to discern the source. Soon after, you hear a sharp burst of laughter and music. Occasionally, you make out the rumble of what the footman confirms to be the lumberous necropolis railroad far below. At the very bottom is an oak pale-paned door. The footman unlocks the door, bows, and departs. The footman disappears into the gloom, leaving you alone facing a desk shaped like a baptistral font. A cheery registrar sits in the middle, waiting to greet you. Introduce yourself. There are protocols that must be followed within the mausoleum. She has you fill out a form indicating your profession, age, usage of hours, and to confirm your legal status as alive. No! Of course it's not! How else am I suppose legal status, we could fake our death and all that. The Prince Consort's tomb is exceedingly popular. To prevent congestion, donations are requested. The greater the donation, the longer you will be allowed to gaze upon the sculpture. If one is fortunate enough to garner the attention of one of the deathless, one must be respectful and only speak when spoken to. It does not do for the living to linger long among the dead. She flies away your form into an excessively large black thing. Well, let's make a port report immediately. There we go. That's a good start. A single devil resides at the mausoleum. He spends his time corresponding with various academics. An introduction can be arranged, but one thing your acquaintances agree on, he is no way retired. Alright, what do these guys give? Bohemia, establishment, academe, villainy, Bothium, academe, villainy, establishment. Do not have enough. Contemplate the dead sun. The corpse of Albion's old son is visible from the grand rose-coloured window below. Smoke still rises from the sun's smouldering core. The wound that slew it is clearly visible. A great rend torn in one side. Star stuff, long since cooled to the colour of coal, spills into the sky. When Her Majesty entered Albion, she slew the sun with an experimental weapon, an unclear bomb. Are you sure that's not missing a couple of letters? Then she claimed the sun's throne and dominion. Leaving the remains here is a clear message. Not even suns are above the Empire's reach. Alright, let's visit the memorial then. Join the revenant crowds. This will reduce a little bit of terror. Uncanny experiments reduces a lot of terror. Immaculate souls reduces significant terror. Okay, where we have 9%, how much does this reduce? 1%. Can I spam it? It looks like I can. So in other words, 1 terror is 3 gold. Noted. This is good. We can remember this. And additionally, we are now without terror and exactly 10,000 gold. It's just perfect. Alright. The most serene mausoleum houses more than just the Prince Consort. Under its soaring spires, the Empress keeps her most favoured courtiers. These lucky few are provided with every luxury they might wish, and a generous spepid of hours. The only condition of this bounty is that they are dead. A legality only. They cannot possess property nor hold political office as a result. They are deathless. Occasionally they delay upon visitors. A childhood friend of Her Majesty, the Duchess Incaradine, was instrumental in the conquest of Albion. Her place in the mausoleum was her reward. And I successfully talked to her. The Duchess would be a small figure were it not for the mounds of silk and brocade that comprise her dress. She glides among the flagstones, a great train of scarlet cloth following her like the telltale trail of blood in a dreadful penny. Today she is menacing the footmen, press-ganging them into her mock battles in Tower Carmine. Fatalities are rare in her battles. Maimings are not. She gives you a red-lipped smile. A footman intervenes and introduces you. She is pleased to encounter a genuine captain, and quizzes you on all the battles you have fought in the wilderness. The goriest details she demands you linger on. Oh! Have you not read my book? This is how I killed a curator. This is how I killed a bunch of guests. And this is how I killed a spine spinster. I've killed a few of those, actually. Well, now I'm allowed to talk to them, I guess. Entertain a request from the Macaray Councillor. The cheery Resijar gives you a note and a worried smile. The Macaray Councillor has requested your attendance, an honour rarely granted the legally living. The several footmen are on hold to escort you from the nave and through the oak-paned doors that led down into the catacombs of silence, where the Macaray Councillor resides. Canberella. This is a genuine word I can say. Candelabras. You know what I mean. Fading tapestries moulder on the walls. In glass cabinets, bones of saints and sinners are displayed among the gloomy relish. The Macquarie councillors are in a maudlin mood, regaling you with stories of her youth and musing wistfully on past regrets. I have only one worth mentioning, my daughter. The Empress saw fit to take her from me, as punishment, I suppose. She could be terribly petty, could Vicky. She examines you spectfully. I wish to have my daughter returned to me. Fulfill this commission, and I shall bequeath upon you a great reward. You are partial to a good reward. It occasionally gets you into trouble. You know what? Sure. What's the harm? It'll be good for the book. She is a hostage at Pernance, kept to ensure my discretion. She hands you several charcoal sketches of her daughter. A pretty, presumptuous heiress with dark eyes, and a curly lock of her brown hair. I have an agent in place to assist and to conceal my daughter's escape. You will need invitations to access the half-light Masqué to effective a rescue. I only have 3 to hand. It is likely you will need to secure more. Your mind returns to her use of the word hostage, an odd choice. Perdance is said to be the place of endless delights, where the children of society's elite dally in luxury. Surely it shouldn't be too much trouble to rescue one spoiled, presumptuous heiress from the lap of obstinance, even if it were, as it were, the Empress's lap. Speak with the dismissal chamberlain. The chamberlain presides over the affairs of the mausoleum. He has seniority of the spectre, and rarely meets with visitors. Oh. Your attempts to meet the chamberlain are met with relentless obscuring. His secretary reschedules the meeting 8 times, eventually arranging it for 6 days ago. You even try waiting all day outside the chamberlain's office, but he does not appear. His duties include regulation of time in the mausoleum, where the deathless wallow in generous pensions of hours. However, the clocks are not keeping the same time. Has something happened? Finally, you manage to corner the engraved mourner and press him for answers. The chamberlain is no longer in residence, he replies curtly. We don't dwell on the matter. We suggest you follow suit. The dismissal chamberlain is missing. Perhaps this merits further investigation. Ooh. It doesn't look like there's anything I can ask about that, so it looks like it's time to leave. Question is where? Well, the answer is obviously, we're going to go here, go to the bazaar, buy all of these, and then just sell them back at the other place and see how much profit we get. Because we've got exactly 10,000 gold right now. It's not like it's going to be hard for us to calculate if we actually make a profit of these things. Especially if you include how much fuel and whatnot we use in the process. Obviously, it's a little prejudged because we don't know exactly the direction we're going, but the point is still there. The place is kind of spooky. I somehow feel this is the kind of place we would meet curators. Just because they're big, giant bat things. You know? But that also raises the question of whether there are even monsters in Albion. Well, I mean, there are clearly pirates, apparently. Which are clearly fairly tough-ish. But they just don't have anything on me. Especially if they can't learn how to shoot. Ah! The Resurrectionists haunt Memoriam, plundering its graves for corpse goods and cadavers. They sell the valuables to the pawn shops and bodies to disgraced scholars, deranged artists, and grisly collectors. Demolish the grave robber. Strip it for parts. Isn't this both the exact same bloody thing? Search the locomotive for valuables. What have they stolen from the sleeping dead? Anything valuable will have to be carefully be concealed. You need to think like a grave robber. That's worth a try. And it succeeds! I have obtained 1 roll of thirsty bosomazine. The small hold has turned into a meat lock. Has been turned into a meat locker with corpses. Corpses are strapped to tables. You close the door and look elsewhere. A false compartment contains fabrics torn from the dead. Winding sheets and burial gowns and Sunday best. You take, obviously, the most expensive. Well, that worked out. That's a more reason why I need more veils. But I like to try and get things up to 50 before I move on to something else, you know? I suppose the question is, has it been 30 days? Very unlikely. Because I'm pretty sure a minute is a day. Now I wonder how much profit we're going to make on all of these. Because I can't even remember how much I bought them for. Okay, so. I think I bought them for like 115, so that's a 35 profit. Let me just do the calculation. I am correct, 35 profit. So, not bad in the scheme of things compared to some items. And it only cost us like 60 because of the fact we used 1 fuel and 1 supplies. Well, 1.5 fuel, but I'm still so tempted to just trade in for a juggernaut. Ooh, the fruits of labor. Literature for the Clockwork Sun. Huh. The Clockwork Sun lies west-southwest of London. Well then, we need to go to the Clockwork Sun for one of our books. So let's head on over to the Clockwork Sun. I love how I upgraded my hold so I could hold more stuff. And the stuff I'm holding more of is fuel and supplies, not profit. So west-southwest. So that means we start out by heading west. We use a bat to tell us where the Christ we're going. It doesn't help us in the slightest. I'm gonna bet it's around here-ish then. I mean, this is a lot of territory to cover, so we may be searching for a little bit of time. Especially if the bat couldn't find anything. And it does actually cover a lot of ground, does the bat. London falters here. The sky becomes stony, its paths barred by sudden cracks. By sudden crags. Please tell me those things are not hostile. Ministry Monitor. They're not hostile. There's something there, is there? Well, it's not a dock, because it does automatically tell me if it's a dock. But the fact there's something there is still evidence enough that we should try going there. Unsettled dreams. Are you bloody serious right now? I lost supplies, but I made friends. You know what? Sure. Just don't give me terror. Especially only at 26%. Stupid sky. We look a lot more in the south direction than the southwest area-ish. When the graveyards of London are full, the dead are committed to the sky. Bully's Acre. Pay your respects, do this and it will reduce terror. Break open a coffin. I'd rather reduce terror. Terror has fallen, but we lose hull. You know what? Fine. Also, spine skeevers, we don't give a damn about you. Come on. There we go. One dead spine skeever. We're not letting any stupid spine skeevers get in my way, especially when they contain bronzewood, one of the most valuable substances in the game. Take me to this Clockwork Sun! If the spine skeevers wish to fight, I, the great Parafox Archangel, shall show them a fight! Of course it's analyzing. Bat, show me something. Your bat finds nothing but and complains. I'm looking for a clockwork clock. I've I've just realized how hard that is to say. A clockwork clock, 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 a clockwork clock. Clockwork sun. That's easier to say. And this place has got very open skies, is all I can feel. Did I just hear fighting? Yeah, I'll take the Tanner key, thank you. Yeah, I could get an uncanny specimen, but I could get supplies, which I can then fuel to use the bat more. Aha! There's something over here! I'm assuming it's the clockwork sun. I already see something moving in the background. That looks like clockwork. My, don't you look fancy. Please tell me I don't hit that. I do not. The Rat Brigade salutes the clockwork sun. A patriotic tear falls from Albrecht's eye. Interesting. Then how do I save the clockwork sun? Do tell. The dock is rarely used, and its maintenance has lapsed. There is evidence of rust and metal stain, but only of non-crucial components. It's safe to stop for now. Once inside the clock, the sun's scouring light is diminished. I mean, granted, that picture there looks bloody awesome. So, I go to the clockwork sun, but the clockwork sun itself is a terror. Is that what you're telling me? And, of course, you only sell glass panes here. Arrival at the sun, an outpost on the roaring edge of the sun, shielded from malevolent light by an eggshell of stained glass. An outpost on the roaring of... As you emerge from your train, the suit-sweated engineers gather, plainly astonished by your arrival. They bombard you with complex questions about how you dealt with dense sunlight and skewed chrono-solar fields. Once satisfied, they hand out protective suits to you and your crew. Yours is patched and torn, one boot missing. You've successfully reached the clockwork sun. Shrug into your suit. An engineer sprays you with a substance that smells like lemons gone wrong, and searches your pockets, a cursory effect at best. They seem distracted. The sunlight seeps like syrup through the cracks in the stained glass ceiling. The sun shudders in time, with the churning machinery far beneath your feet. The air has a tang of chemicals, bonfires and rain. Pistons pump, cogs turn, and the suit-swayed figures tend to the machinery, bellowing over the shrieking metal. Write a report. The clockwork sun is a preeminent symbol of the Empire's heavenly dominion. The newspapers are calling it enduring, everlasting, eternal. In response to your questions, the engineers shrug. The day dawns, the sun brightens, the night comes, the sun dims. What more is there to say? Some of them seem so exhausted they can barely stand. They insist that it's proximity to the sun that affects their sleep. You have one yearning burning. What the hell is a yearning burning? Head towards the sundial-shaped building. You'll be the sequence's new favorite project, one of the engineers tells him. It'll keep him out of our hair for a while. Okay. Azimuth is an enormous sundial without shadow. Its roof topped by a golden thin golemon. There are still racks of yellowed pamphlets on the walls. It once served as a kiosk, selling tickets to sunspotters, the pilgrims and tourists that were expected to flock here. These days, it's more like a temple. Frescoes on curved walls depict the triumph of the new sun over the old. Right. Ask the dazzled silencers about his role. The only other people up here are disturbed prisoners and exhausted engineers. I'm the priest of new sequence, declares the sequencer. The greatest truth, the wildfire that has swept Albion. He points out to the expanse of the sun. There burns a beacon, a saviour, an aspect of God. We venerate the clockwork sun and its immortal architect, our Empress. I'm here to greet pilgrims and safeguard the souls of our engineers. Azimuth is also is also the only access route to the sun-shattered dome, an expedition hall that was built back when we received more visitors. The dome is terribly dangerous and advise you avoid it, no matter how much you hear about priceless artifacts inside. He has a request. Together we will help the less fortunate. It will be compensate for your time. There are many souls out there in need of help. Beleaguered, ignorant masses. I've never met them, but I assure you they exist. He pauses to wipe his eyes. When we lift them from their contemplatable state, perhaps they will come to appreciate the greatness of sequence. He sends an orderly to fetch a wooden crate. Once it's set down before him, he wraps the lid proudly. 600 manuals on how to correctly tie a bow tie. Deliver them to these to the Abrasian work world, and I'm sure they will be immensely benefited by their improved understanding of etiquette. Okay. Beyond Azimuth lies the maze of the abandoned expedition halls, crowned by the magnificent broken dome. Request access to the dome. The sequencer obviously takes his role as gatekeeper seriously. He fusses around you, checking you and your crew's gear, tugging on straps, checking for rips, wiping your stained glass goggles with silk handkerchief. All the while he spouts an endless stream of warnings. Don't enter Shalimar. Never travel in a group of 3 or fewer, and resist the urge to sing, no matter how fiercely your throat burns. And for the sequencer's sake, watch the condition of your suit. With that, he pats you on the back, hands you a brochure, and sends you through a heavily open door. Huh. I'm just gonna return to safety. And you unlock this with Strength of the Sun. 82. Okay. Visit the Glass House. An isolated section of abandoned expedition halls has been repurposed to hold not treasures but prisoners. Each wears a grey smock rather than a protective suit, leaving them utterly undefended from the ravages of sunlight. They sit slumped in unlocked cells, making no effort to escape. Where would they go? Some of the prisoners are shining at the seams. Some have eyes of curdled glass. Fractured face turns towards you. A few are singing in praise of the sun, mouths bloody and throats tattered. You should perhaps be horrified, but the song wraps tender chords around your mind and numbs you. Glass crunches underfoot. When you lift your boot, you discover a cracked ear beneath. Speak with the prisoners. 40% chance. I'll take it. Nope, apparently not. I gained terror. They went wild on me. Only one cell is locked, and the man within is neither singing nor screaming. The left half of his body is shimmering, translucent. Only the flesh and muscle of his left half has vitrified, not the bones and blood within. The glass is suffused with 1,000 fine frozen capillaries, like delicate red cracks running through ice. He fixes you with an anguished stare. Get me out of here. Why is this cell locked and he's alone? This was an expedition hall once, never a prison. Nishmir must have had to install those bars specifically for him. The others would not leave even if they could. Their minds are lost. The empty attempts a one-sided shrug. And, well, the Empire sent me here because I was smuggling sunlight from the Neath, back before the horizon closed. When I sold it, I told my customers that the light from the clockwork sun was toxic, and true sunlight was the only cure. Ended up causing a minor panic in London. I think one of the engineers locked me in because he took offense at my criticism, though. He gestured at his vertified body. I stand by it. Yeah! No kidding! A barely perceivable nod. The glass in his neck creaks. Yeah, I think he needs to leave. Thank you. His voice is hoarse and he speaks in barely a whisper. You will need to find a permit for my release and present it to the steward. Forged, legitimate, I don't care. Alright, let's try the descent into the trepid vault before we do this. Although I really should stop, because I've talked a lot this episode and not done a lot of travelling or fighting. So we're probably at the hour limit at this point. We'll go for this last bit. Beneath the machine bustling surface, you find a ring of 9 vault doors, each engraved with the name of a classical muse. 8 are blocked and barred, behind signs saying like vacant or under renovation, or in one case, unfortunate chronological discrepancies. The 9th, marked Tepescoid, is the only door open to you. When you enter, your footsteps ring through the dusty barracks and abandoned canteens. These are the engineers' quarters, but they are all on the surface, working, except one. The broken steward has been working on the sun since before it first shone. She has been here far, far longer than any of the engineers above. Well, you look interesting. The broken steward makes her way carefully towards you, cane cracking on the floor. She has a marked, stiff, limped gait. Her arms creak as she removes her helmet. Speak with the broken steward. She catches you glancing at her mouth and smiles even wider. Her teeth are shards of cracked glass, protruding at odd angles from her gums. It's not just the teeth, she says, with a brusque grey air that brooks no sympathy. Damned sun turned my bones as well. Terrible nuisance, really. It gets in the way of work. You notice her fixed neck, her stiff limbs, her careful movement. It's not too bad, she says. Good thing I like soup. Right. Okay. Back into the poison's light. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, everyone, I think this is a good place to end today's episode. If you know how I can fix the Clockwork Sun, please tell me in the comments down below. If you know how I can... the correct answers to the chronological office, tell me in the comments down below. Help me complete my book. So everyone, I'm afraid that until next week, it looks like it's time for me to bid thee all farewell, good day, and finally, good night.